coats. Even with their coats, it's horrible, because they're not really afforded much protection in the fields that they're in. And I know, it's just, we don't need any of this, because we need the animal foods. It's recognised by the World Health Association that we need none of it. Supports a vegan diet totally, the World Health Organisation. So all of this really is just totally unnecessary. Little lambs, well, well, it's terrible, isn't it? They have the same bond as any mother has with a baby, and they're taken away and sent to slaughter. And slaughter is a terrible process. Sheep shearing as well is, the workers work on piecework, so it's not by the hour, it's by every sheep that they shear. So they do it as quick as they can. So you can imagine there's so many nicks and cuts and awful things happening that become infected. And also there's no law to protect them, so anybody can go and shear a sheep. So you can just roll up at a farm and say, I'm going to shear this sheep. And then go, yep, how quickly can you do it? And that'll be it. Cuts, nicks, grazes, misery. And sheep are really, really intelligent too. Almost as intelligent as pigs. Remember, as into 3-year-old children. They can recognise 20 faces over about 2 years. So that's an amazing thing, isn't it? Little sheep, those who are. And of course they recognise each other, don't they? So things. They recognise their mum, of course. So yeah, fish, horrible. We are polluting the seas, of course, with factory farming effluents, overfishing, huge large trawlers that sweep up everything on the ocean floor, heavy metals, antibiotics, and so on and so forth are there in a little fish body. And they're sentient, There is this huge myth that they don't feel any pain. And of course they feel pain, they've got a spine, And how amazing they are, they welcome us into their world far more gently than we do the reverse. You can go diving amongst the reefs and have a beautiful time swimming amongst these peaceful creatures, and yet we yank them out into an alien environment by their mouths. They have a spine, they feel pain, of course they do. And of course, the depletion of the oceans and fishing stock and so forth, another degradation of our planet and more life lost. Beef cows, the main thing is to get them as big and fat as possible and eat them as quickly as they can. So they will crowd together in feeding lots. Their sort of buds are cut out when they're very young, no anaesthetic. They're burnt out chemically and they're crammed into fattening sheds. And there they are, killed at a fraction of their sort of 20-year lifespan. And that's it, that's animals. And probably, is there any does anybody need to go on? Because that sort of says it all, really, doesn't it? Right, so then we come on to vegan for the planet. That's not a bad thing, is it? So the production of meat, fish and dairy is having a disastrous impact on our wildlife. Remember, we've lost 40% of that in the last sort of 20 years. That's all our lives, our lifetime. It's horrible, you feel this huge responsibility because this has happened. Nearly half of the world's wildlife has disappeared and it's in our lifetime. Because, of course, we're determined to raise as many animals as we can, as cheaply as we can. And so we do overgrazing, overfishing, which leads to deforestation, land degradation and desertification. And, as the quest for land sort of grows and grows and grows, because there are more people in the world demanding more food, and as the appetite for meat grows, which unfortunately it is, then so does the amount of land that we need to actually graze animals and produce food. Most of the food that is grown on agricultural land is used to feed farm animals. And how ridiculous is that? And it doesn't work. And it takes, 17 kilograms of really prime, grain and land to produce 1 kilogram of meat. It's so impractical. It's just killing the planet to produce a small amount of meat. So of course, as we're clearing everything away, so we're clearing away all the other things, the wonderful things that make our lives richer and more diverse. And of course, we're all one. We need the insects. We need the creatures. The cycle of life has to go on. Biodiversity, vital survivors being destroyed. Species-rich habitats are just being completely ploughed down. And I think it's about 40 football pitches, the equivalent of 40 football pitches, are being cleared in the forests and the rainforests per minute. That's pretty horrendous, isn't it? Do you know what? I was just saying to Paul, we were teaching this in the 80s, and I remember saying exactly the same thing to the kids then, and he was still doing it. I can't believe it's any left. And of course with that, not only, obviously sort of beautiful sort of wildlife being destroyed and everything there, we're driving some animals to extinction. All this, because we have to go and buy a lump of meat, a bit of dairy or some milk, misery for the animals, misery for the planet. So, we've got here, sort of Sumatran elephants, they're like being wiped out completely because of our need for land. And it's palm kernel. That's what we're after here. This is what the Sumatran rainforest is being cleared for, because that's being fed to our farmed animals all over the world, because it's a cheaper crop. They usually feed on soya. It's a cheaper crop. So forests are also being cleared for that. Penguins. As kids we like, what? You like the penguins, don't you? They're dying out in South Africa because obviously overfishing is taking their food. So they've got nothing to live on. But that's sort of ground down, into fish meal to feed these sort of factory farmed fish here, and other farmed animals. It's just horrendous, isn't it? Jaguars being pushed to extinction. It says here Brazil. It's a home, of course, to half the jaguars in the world. And the numbers are so low now that they're almost extinct. And it says here, look, 13 million hectares of South American land. Their home has been hijacked for crops to feed animals. But they're only born like this because we force them to breed like that. In the wild, naturally, we would have no problem. There would be the land for everybody, the land for them, happiness for them, happiness for us. So, anyway, crops ourselves without feeding it to the animals. We could feed an additional 4 billion people. Oh, it's just more than enough for everyone for years to come. Because of course we've got this huge problem in the world, people are absolutely starving. And what do? We feed what we could feed to them. If we ate grains directly, instead of going through the middleman, which is the animals, then there would be enough to feed everybody in the world. So yeah, we're getting the crop second hand. Why should we do that? It's far more economical and practical to just eat the crops. And in a good way, because vegan food is wonderful. So doesn't make any sense whatsoever. 1 in 9 people are undernourished and starving, and yet we're feeding their food to animals to make just a tiny bit of food for ourselves. Unfortunately as well, in sort of developing countries, meat is seen to be a symbol of richness and prestige. So another very sad development, because developing countries now getting richer are seeking more meat, which is devastating for our planet. So, yes, I'll get to this. If everyone ate a vegan diet, we'd reduce the amount of land we use for agriculture by 75%. Right, water is such a precious commodity as well. Okay, 75% of all the water consumed is used in factory farming. To hydrate animals, of course, to grow the crops for them, and to wash out slaughterhouses and factory farms, which are not places of great hygiene. And I don't think we've ever been into a slaughterhouse. So I guess.
Wasn't very nice.
Well done you. That must have been very difficult.
Oh, I didn't have a choice. I was 10. I was sick from school. My mum had to go to visit her YTS placements, so she had to take me with her to work. So I got a grand tour of a slaughterhouse by one of the workers while she got on with what she needed to do for the day.
Oh my goodness.
That must have been traumatising.
That must have been very traumatising.
Well, they told me that the animals didn't feel any pain, and I believed that because I was 10. They showed me every step of it, and I can still smell it. Yeah, but at the time, I chose to believe the adults that told me that no, it's just eating. They're not really crying. They're not really crying. They're not really feeling it. So it was quite traumatic. It's probably why I'm quite so passionate about this stuff now. Yeah,
absolutely.
but yeah, they do cry a lot as well as tears.
I remember going to how I first became vegan was being taken as a proper London townie person. I went to my uncle's farm in Scotland, and they were quite keen for me to learn to milk a cow. And I had my face next to it, and I sat there and sort of felt this beautiful big belly, and the teats and the milk and the warm milk, and I just knew instinctively it wasn't mine. It just wasn't mine. After that, they took me to a cattle market, and that was just horrendous. The diarrhea, the crying, the sort of power that man was wielding over beasts, and bashing them on their bony backs, these poor cows just bellowing and crying. And, the whole, you have to deaden yourself to these things as I'm sure, if you work with animals, because if you must become desensitized, because there can't be anybody, who is able to love to accept that as being okay. And crying of millions of animals suffering as well.
I think there's been some studies about PSTD and slaughterhouse workers, but I'll show.
No, I was just saying, but it is a recognised thing now that slaughterhouse workers, slaughterhouse workers are there because there isn't anything else for them to do. They're either sort of ex-convicts or they dropped out of somewhere, or they have special needs of some sort, and you know, they work in these dreadful situations and they suffer afterwards dreadfully, because I mean, how can you live with killing and murdering millions and millions, you know, without coming back and having some repercussions on it? So yeah, well, there you are. So also, you know, so these were the things that it causes, you know, to eat meat and dairy, deforestation, of course, because we're ripping, you know, out the crops, which obviously the soil can't bind together anymore, so it, you know, we have floods, we have dead land, excessive use of land, water, energy, methane gas, big one, you know, all these cows passing in, methane gas is quite devastating to the environment. Now you're good at these numbers, aren't you, Paul? So, methane gas, come on, you say the numbers.
I don't know, methane gas, I think it's about, is it 23 times more powerful than CO2, which is what most people talk about.
Yeah.
And I think nitrous oxide is about 300 times more powerful. And of course, that's another you know, byproduct of the animal agriculture.
It's in their feces. So
when we talk about greenhouse gases, animal agriculture is contributing
more,
massive amounts.
17%, I think, you know, more than all the transport and industry that we blame heavily for the pollution. Of course, most of it is from animal agriculture. So we have to do something, don't we? We have to, you know, because we can make a difference. We can make a difference. Okay, well, food. This is a good thing to read. This, here we have, his name's gone right out of my mind. Patrick Barbinian. That's amazing. Do we all know about him?
I met him.
Did you?
Did you?
At the camp out.
Yeah, I greeted him when he first arrived. I just had to walk across the field and he was there, and I was like, oh,
Fabulous.
Well, I mean, amazing.
I didn't take a selfie
You
there.
probably stood out a bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
His big beard.
3 people wide. I'm going to read this because it's so good. You know, he's a 2012 European. He's not the only athlete that has decided to be vegan, by the way, because it's been designated as being the best diet to help us heal better, be stronger, have more energy, be dynamic. Watch Game Changers, if anybody hasn't seen that. I'm having to direct at you now, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to look around.
Game Changers is really good. It's a good one. I'll send you a link later. It's good.
But watch Game Changers, you know, because it is really brilliant. Anyway, so he's the 2012 European powerlifting champion. He's a world record breaker in 3 strongman events. He's a world record breaker for the log lift. Turned vegan. But this is what he says. So he says, this is the message. Can you all hear me with my back this way?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is the message to all those out there who think that you need animal products to be fit and strong. Almost 2 years after becoming vegan, I am stronger than ever before, and I'm still improving 2 years after it. It doesn't say that, I've lost my place. Day by day. Don't listen to those self-proclaimed nutrition gurus and the supplement industry trying to tell you that you need more meat, eggs and dairy to get enough protein. There are plenty of plant-based protein sources, and your body is going to thank you for stopping feeding it with dead food. Go vegan and feel the power. And he says up here that I just found myself thinking that if I would have to kill the animals I ate with my own hands, I couldn't, because I am too compassionate. And that's it really, isn't it? No, I don't think many of us really would be able to go out and kill an animal. Okay, so yes, it's a natural diet and it's better for our health. And I'm not going to go on a lot about health. Because there's some lovely things over there. Can you see?
Please,
Yeah, this one. this one. And that's really good. That's really good. I think it's pretty small there, Lisa, as well.
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
But vegan for your health. And there's all these terrible reasons. Are we running short of time? We are a bit of time. We're all right. We've got to carry on more. So, there's all these wonderful resources. Viva do great things. They are an absolutely amazing organisation that actually touch on everything. So every area of animal abuse, they look at it closely and very educational. So tips on how to, they've gone to girls over there, they wanted to know how to start to be vegan because they were saying, is it hard? Yeah, it was quite interesting perspective. I wish they'd have stayed because the young ones quite, it's good to get an idea of how they're thinking. But is it hard? I don't know. It would be interesting to see how everybody did become vegan. I think, Lisa, you said it wasn't hard because you just felt intrinsically that it was wrong to eat at 6 years old.
Yeah, it was on Christmas Day actually. My parent brought out the turkey and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a bird. And I was like, I can't eat it. And from that day on, I just couldn't eat meat.
Yeah.
And so this phase that I was going through,
Yeah.
now
It's
35,
lasted.
it's lasted the whole time.
Yeah, and like me with the cow, that was it. And to go over, then to look at the animals in the ring, going around in the cattle market, scared out of their wits, diarrhea. For me, that was it. That I couldn't go on anymore, really, doing that. And so, for some people, starting to be vegan, I think partly it does stem from the animals. In my experience, if it stems from a plant-based diet is not vegan.
Yeah.
It is different.
It's
It's
a
not a
diet.
philosophy.
It's a diet, not
It
a
is a
lifestyle.
diet.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who think they're on a vegan diet, well, they aren't vegan, think they're vegan because they're on a plant-based diet, very often go back to being non-plant-based because when they realise they're not having these marvellous sort of like health benefits after 2 weeks, but a plant-based diet they think will give them they can just go back. If you're vegan, you're always vegan. Who is vegan? Because you're always aware. You're always aware of the reasons. And it's not always comfortable, it's never comfortable. And we were just saying today that it's really hard to keep up with it all because it's painful. It's painful. It's painful all the time to watch documentaries. It's painful all the time to read the stuff because it is, as vegans, I think what we've all been able to do, and we all do, is to put ourselves in the place of the victim because these are victims. They're victims. They can't help themselves, and so we feel that. And so it's very hard to even consider. Not being on a vegan diet. But I think plant-based probably doesn't stem from these reasons. It isn't a whole, complete philosophy. And it's easier, isn't it, if you just drop off the wagon with it. So anyway, yes, there are... A lot of people are thinking that there are reasons why naturally we should not be eating meat. The human body wasn't designed for it. I've touched on one thing before because we actually don't like blood. We're like disgusted by blood. Secondly, our canine teeth are not sort of long enough or strong enough. I mean, if we were going to catch and kill an animal in the wild, we'd have the speed, just rush off and down the animal and swallow it and tear it apart without any sort of garnish, or without any sort of flavouring. Bones would be licked and skin would be swallowed and off we go. No, there's nobody who is on an omnivorous diet as a human being, I think, would be capable of doing that. It's only palatable because, due to it. So canine teeth aren't needed for tearing, a wild creature you've had the adrenaline to go and jump on, that's moving at the speed of light, but you can still get it. We don't have that anymore, so that's another thing. We also have sort of like flat molars, which are used for sort of grinding, which the tearing animals don't have. And our mouths sort of move sort of like side to side and not just up and down like natural meat eaters do. Also, we have very long intestines. Meat eaters have very short ones, so that they can, natural meat eaters like cats, so that they can process that dead flesh quite quickly, in and out. You know, in us, it sort of festers away. It's as gross as scabies, isn't it? Festering there. And of course, you know, when you eat it, it's sort of like rotting anyway, so it's rotting dead flesh. So, you know, we're not really natural meat eaters at all. There was another reason why we're not meat eaters. Do you think about it? That's enough, isn't it?
Was it the acid in our stomach?
Ah, yes, that's it, isn't it? Acid. Yes. So natural meat eaters have very strong acid, so that they can break down the meat and it goes into them. And we have this really weak acid that just works on nuts and bolts. Okay, well, there's a whole section here. They're all over there. Why animals are harmful, animal foodstuffs, and how a vegan diet can help. And I'm not going to go into all of that because I'm not a nutritionist. I just know that I'm 39 years of vegan now. No, I'm not dead of protein deficiency. But obviously there's a whole big spectrum of reasons why a vegan diet can help. And that's where I'm going to finish. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well, it's great. Talking to a bunch of vegans, I hope you're all going to be extra special vegan.